How's it going, everybody? In this video I'm going to be showing you a $70 budget mono white deck. This deck uses Doxos Bless the Sun as the commander. Whenever another creature enters the battlefield or dies, you're going to gain 1 life. This card's toughness can also get pretty large. This deck wants to gain a bunch of life, play a lot of small tokens that are going to trigger abilities, like our commander's effect. If a creature enters the battlefield, we're going to gain a life. Then we play some cards that are going to tax our opponents. Cards like this kind of make the game a little bit harder for opponents to play. The first creature is pretty dumb because if it's our upkeep and this card's on the field, and we have 40 or more life, we're just going to win the game. Pretty cheeky, but it fits the deck pretty well. The Rhino Monk is a little expensive, but it works very well in this deck. Whenever we gain life, we're going to gain double that. And Beacon of Immortality is going to straight up just double our life total. Whenever an opponent casts a spell, we're going to put a counter on Sun Scorch Regen. Also, every time we gain a life, we're going to be putting a counter on the Paladin and the Unicorn. Also, if we have 25 or more life, the Paladin's going to get double strike. Nixos Paragon is going to allow us to put counters on each of our creatures every time we gain life, but only once that turn. The Pride Mate is similar to the Unicorn and the Paladin. Every time we gain life, we're going to put a counter on it. The Angel is pretty great because every time we gain life, we gain that +1. This card will also be a 4/4 because we usually will have more than 25 life. Sarah Avatar's power and toughness are going to be equal to our life total. The card's converted mana cost is a little high, but the card can be absolutely massive. The Loxodon Life Chanter is going to allow us to gain some life if our life total is low, depending on how many creatures we have on the field. But we can give this +X where X is our life total. We can also do this multiple times if we have a lot of mana. As long as our life total is greater than or equal to our starting life, Path of Bravery is going to give all of our creatures +1/+1. Also, Johnny's Welcome for only 1 mana. Every time a creature enters the battlefield, we're going to gain 1 life. Each of these cards are quite similar, allowing us to gain life whenever a creature enters the battlefield. The Priest only works if it's a creature token. Soul Warden is the best because it includes all of our opponent's creatures. The last card only includes our board, but it's still really good. Whenever a white creature attacks, Linden's going to allow us to gain 1 life. We are playing a lot of creature tokens, so this can add up. Whenever a creature enters the battlefield on our side of the field, we're going to gain 1 life with Suitor Priest. However, if it's on our opponent's side of the field, they'll lose 1 life. And the Pantheon has a nice benefit of protection. However, whenever an opponent casts a multicolored spell, we're going to gain 1 life. These 3 cards are all quite similar, allowing us to put a lot of creature tokens onto the battlefield. Cards like Angelic Accord, Stormherd, and White Sun Zenith are even more ways we're getting creature tokens onto the battlefield. At the end of each end step, if we gain 4 more life with Angelic's Accord, we're going to get an Angel token. Stormherd is 10 mana, however if we are able to cast this, we're going to get 1/1 tokens equal to our life total. They do have flying also. White Sun Zenith is great because we're going to continually put it back into our library so we can draw it again. Whenever the War Leader attacks, we're going to get 2 1/1 white creature tokens that are also attacking with lifelink. A little expensive at around $6, however this card does come in handy in this deck. Crest Sunmare is a lot of fun. All of our horses have indestructible, and at the beginning of each end step, if we gain life this turn, we get to create another 5/5 horse. We will be gaining life basically every turn, and it is each end step, not just ours. Ragna the Redeemer is similar to the horse, except at the beginning of each end step we're going to get 2 1/1 white warrior tokens. Rally for the Throne and Increasing Devotion are nice cards to have just to create tokens. Speaker of Heavens is nice because we can tap it to create a 4/4 angel token. However, we can only activate this ability if we have 7 more life than our starting. Sun Titan is great because when it enters the battlefield we can return a permanent from our graveyard with the mana value 3 or less. Same thing with Emuria, but the landfall is even better. Ranger of Eos is going to allow us to search our library for a creature card with a mana value 1 or less. We're really going to want to target those cards that are going to allow us to gain life when other creatures enter the battlefield. Brave the Elements and Rootborn Defenses just gives our creatures some more protection. Cartouche of Solidarity is a nice card because for 1 mana we get a 1/1 white warrior token, and we also get to enchant a creature and give it +1 and first strike. Just some good value for 1 mana. Next up are some tax cards that are going to slow our opponents down. Evan Mind Sensor has Flash, and if an opponent would search their library, that player only searches the top 4 cards of their library instead. Deafening Silence is cool because each player can't cast more than 1 non-creature spell each turn. Even though our deck does play a lot of non-creatures, we are looking to set this card up later in the game if possible when we already have a pretty good board. Rule of Law makes it so each player can only cast 1 spell. Again, it's assumed we're going to be developing a board, playing this card, and then making it difficult for our opponents to remove our board. And I guess interact with our life gain strategy. Ashes of the Aberrant makes it so players can't cast spells from the libraries or activate abilities in graveyards, but also when a creature dies we get to gain 1 life. Steward the Yardgiver makes it so creatures can't attack you or Planeswalker unless their controller pays 1 extra mana for each of those creatures. Search the Premises is quite similar, since whenever a creature attacks, we're going to put a bunch of clue tokens onto the battlefield. We can target permanents with Oblivion Ring and cast out and exile them. Reprobation can only target creatures, however it has a similar effect. Holy Day is going to turn off a combat phase for a turn. Glimpse of the Sun Gods can allow us to tap a bunch of creatures and also scry. And Divine Offerings can allow us to destroy a target artifact and we get to gain some extra life that way. In Commander games there always will be artifacts, so this is a great card. Swords to Plowshares and Path to Exile are great 1 mana instant speed removal. If you like playing white, highly recommend picking these up. Dust to Dawn and Cleansing Nova are going to allow us to board wipe our opponent. Just kind of good if things get out of hand in the game. White doesn't have a lot of ramp, however these 3 cards can allow us to get some extra lands into the battlefield. Some artifacts are running Soul Ring, Goldmire, Fire and Marble Diamond just to try and get some extra ramp into the game. The Altar synergizes well with our commander since it is a demigod, allowing us to gain 1 life when we do tap this, and our devotion is also increased by 1. The monument's going to make our white creatures cost 1 less to cast, and whenever we cast a creature spell, we get to create a 1/1 warrior token. Whenever any player casts a white spell, we're going to gain 1 life with the feather, and the Elixir of Immortality is going to allow us to gain 5 life, and we can shuffle back into our library. Each of these lands are going to allow us to gain some extra life. Definitely would add these to the deck. We can tap the Castle of Ardenval for 4 extra mana and get a 1/1 warrior token. Not the best card in the game, but if our board gets wiped, it has a nice way of generating us some more tokens. When the Sanctuary enters the battlefield, we're going to gain 1 life, but also whenever an Angel enters the battlefield, we're going to gain some life as well. New Benalia is nice because we're going to be able to scry 1 off of the land. And then we're running 28 planes. This deck works the best if you have on the field already cards that are going to allow you to gain life when other creatures enter the battlefield. Then when you combine that with cards like Secure the Waste, where you're going to generate a bunch of tokens, that's when you're going to get the most value out of the cards and the deck will be the most efficient. This deck does generate some pretty big boards, however it is still open to a lot of removal and board wipes. It can recover, however it's still not ideal. Let me know down below some other cards you would consider for this deck. Also, if you're still watching, check out the comments down below because some people are going to leave some really nice tech that you should consider for your deck. Thanks for watching everybody, take care, stay tuned for some more Magic decks on a budget.